Okay, good morning. We're here today with Rabbi Yitzchok Pinkesz, the author of Kosher Astrology. Yitzchok, your book blew me away. When I first picked it up, I think you reached out to me. Oh, by the way, you speak about astrology. Let's talk about it. And I read your book, and you brought over 156 sources from the Torah on astrology. And many times you get people saying, well, this is not a Torah thing. Why are you talking about that? It's not a Torah thing. So I've read it many times from Reb Nachman. I've been pretty much, when I ask people, hey, what are the signs? You could see so much about a person's personality. And the fact that you brought this to light today from the Torah itself and so many sources, it's really, really going to change the stigma. And people are going to get so much more awareness and really be able to change. So thank you for coming here. I forced you to come here from New York. I told you this has to be on video. We're going to talk about it, and people are going to have so many questions on it. So first, I want to ask you, how in the world did you get into this stuff?
So first of all, thank you so much, Gedale, for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate it. You're absolutely right. There's so much confusion about astrology from a Jewish perspective. And that's so I started 15, 16 years ago on a lark. Just one night, I was in the car with a friend, and we had just celebrated another friend's engagement. And I remember my friend had once mentioned to me that he knew a religious woman who does astrology. So on a lark, I said, hey, let's call her up and ask her some questions. So we called her up, and she asked me for my birth date. And I gave her my birth date, and she starts going, wow, you have a lot of the element of ear. And so she goes, are you a rabbi? Are you a professor? Are you a writer? Are you a Talmud Chacham? I'm like, okay, I'm not a rabbi or professor, but yes, I love to write, and I love to delve into things, and I was like, wow. And my friend, she said that he's more earth and more grounded and more practical and down to earth, and he's like a school principal, and it fit him well. Now, it wasn't a lot of information, but she switched it wouldn't have fit us at all. So I was like, wow, what is this ear element? That's the first thing so I became very curious about it, and I bought a couple of books on it. And at the time, I didn't know that in my astrological chart, I have Pluto, which intensifies everything. So anything that I'm curious about, I didn't buy one book. I ended up buying 400 books on astrology. Wow. And that's how I started my journey into astrology. So the fact that I then discovered, I started looking at my own birth chart, and I started seeing how much information it contained about myself. And this wasn't somebody telling me information, somebody who was scoping me out and figuring out who I am and tricking me, Right. This was me looking at the information that was there, and I couldn't believe how much info it had. And then I checked my friends and family, and everybody, it had so much information. I was like, what's going on here?
Blown away. I know when you did my chart, it was like you did an MRI on me of my whole life. And it was...
Isn't that wild?
And I think you made a message through Fire and Water, which is the book of the name of Rabbi Natan. And I felt like my whole life has been through fire and water. I feel like this is the two elements, the emotions and the fire at the same time. And it was just, I couldn't even sleep because there was so much of a download that I got. It was incredible. It was just the accuracy that I see in people. But you went really, really deep.
Yes.
You went into North Nodes. You went into... You went to planets and stuff that I don't even, I'm not so familiar with. I know the sun, the moon, and North Node, but you really you took it to another level. Yeah, so I want to talk about, why this is so important and why this is, talk about what, I've heard many times that when a person has a mission, he's born on a certain date so he can amplify his mission. It's not that his birth dates. He's born to do his mission, so he's given specific stars. Talk about that.
Okay, so first of all, your chart blew me away. You have a powerhouse of a chart. Just wow, really. But yes, so what one of the most amazing things that I find about astrology, so there is this concept of a birth chart. So what happens, like the moment that a person is born, let's say just randomly, July 4th, 1995, right? Somebody's born that day. What happens? So Hashem takes all the energy of the universe and the solar system, all those planets which have very unique configurations, takes that energy of that moment and implants it in the person, in the baby. Literally all that energy. And that person then is meant to take that energy for their entire life of that July 4th, 1990, that moment in time, and carry it forward for 70, 80, 90 years and bring that energy into the world and really make a huge impact in the world from that moment of time.
Wow.
And to me, that means every moment of time is so precious. It's not just gone in a moment. There's thousands or millions of people born that are harnessing that energy for the rest of their lives. So that concept right away blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like that, how precious every moment is.
It's funny how people, when people are trying to get a pregnancy earlier or later, or sometimes it has to be induced, or sometimes it comes out when it's supposed to come out.
Yes. God
don't force the hour.
God runs the world. Yes, you're not supposed to force the hour. That's a big thing. Everything is meant to be. And so once we understand that, and each chart, it shows you so much information about who you are, what your mission in this world is, what your tafkid, your mission, your purpose, and also your skill sets and your gifts. But it's not that simple, because there's complexities to it.
Right.
Like if somebody has a lot of planets, that means they have extra abilities and gifts, but that can be a struggle in childhood as they're going through things. So you have to learn how to hone it. So it's a lifetime process of honing it, but the key is to really be the full person who Hashem created you to be and do your purpose. And that's one of the biggest things that when I do chart readings is to get people to do their purpose. We get so stuck. We have voices in our head. We have so many things that are blocking us and stopping us. We need healing. We all have to go through process. Yeah. We all go through tough stuff.
Healing and purpose go hand in hand.
Yes.
If you're not in your purpose, you're not healed.
Right. And you can't do your purpose without healing first. We need all parts of us. So astrology can really help show where our conflicts are, where we might be stuck, what area it is, So it gives us information.
What to pray for, what to pray for.
What to pray for, what to work on. It's work.
Exactly.
It's personal growth. That's what we're here to do, is really grow. And the chart shows it to you. It lays it all out. It's so powerful. My favorite thing is when I do a chart reading for somebody and I go through and I show them their gifts, and then they call me later, a few weeks later, that they quit their job, and that gave them the courage to go ahead and fulfill their promise. Because people know when I talk to them, I'm not going to tell you something you don't know. It's something it's there. But again, there's doubting voices. No, I need to make parnas, I need to make money. So this is something that can really give you that push.
I've never heard about this in the secular, in the religious world, and even growing up at schools, nobody's even talking about this. And yet, the more I got into it, it's like, this is like a huge thing. We all take, your prospective spouse to a rabbi. You got to take it to a rabbi, and then you also got to see your compatibility. Right. So we can change. Obviously, this is not to sit there. You're stuck. This is just to tell you, here, this is what you got to work on.
Right. No, absolutely. But it's about focusing your gift, right? So if my gift is intensity in learning, right? So I have to learn how to focus that and bring out, so I can study like this astrology and bring out this book. So it's about honing your gift, right? And we have options what to do. For example, like the energy of Neptune, right? So Neptune is about elevation and transcendence and spirituality. In its highest form, it's somebody who's really connected to spirituality and creativity. In the negative side, it can be somebody, because they're looking for that connection, it can be alcohol and drugs, which also makes you high and that elevated thing, but it's in the wrong thing. So that's where the choice is. But a person who has Neptune strongly in their chart, they need to be an elevated spiritual type of person. And if they don't connect within a spiritual, they're going to connect with it with alcohol and drugs and other ways that fill. So that's where our bechira, that's where our choice comes in.
Beautiful.
But it's within the line, the energies that Hashem gifted us with.
Same thing with like what the Gemara says about Mars. Either the guy's going to be a mohel, he's going to be a surgeon, or he's going to be a murderer.
Right. That's the thing. At that time, people believe that's one of the non-kosher versions of astrology, and that's what the Torah is coming to teach us in that Gemara in Shabbos, where if somebody's born with the energy of Mars, everybody believed that they're going to be a murdering bandit. That was the common belief among people, that person has no choice, but he's going to be a murdering bandit. And the Gemara is teaching us, no, he can be a shoch. He can take that energetic energy. Mars is an aggressive, assertive energy. And you can take that and become a shochet. You can use it in a positive way. You can become a moel. You can do positive things with that assertive energy is there. You can't help that. But you can channel it in a positive way. And all the sources that I bring is trying to teach us that. That's the key. It's not a fated that you have no choice. And that's what most of the world believed at that time.
Right. Wow.
So that's one of the non-kosher versions of astrology.
And I met many times, the Arizal says this, that Reb Nachman says it very simple: earth, water, fire, and air. we can we have to try to take the good out of these signs instead of the negative out of it, because that's really the work, to extract the good and extract and really limit the kryptonite. That's pretty much the hampering. Give us. I know I've read many times the Bnei Yisachar spoke about the concept of why the Greeks specifically wanted to decree these three things. They wanted to get rid of Shabbat, circumcision, and the new moon. And when I read why they did it on an astrological background, it was just wild, to keep us below the stars. Talk about that.
Yes. So the Bnei Yisachar and the Chidah, they both write about this, and they're quoting Reb Shlomo Peniel, who wrote a Sefer Or Hanayim from 1570. And it was really hard. It's not in print, and I finally got a copy of it, and I was like blown away. He connects all the mitzvahs together with astrology. So, for example, right, so Mars is blood, so it's connected to circumcision, which is blood. Right. Saturn, which is restrictions and discipline, is connected to Shabbos, which is restriction and discipline, in order to allow the freedom of it. Or
sadness also, Saturn, Black Saturn.
Yes, but that's why we're supposed to find the joy in Shabbos, right? So, and so, but he brings many examples, like tefillin. If you know, on the shel rosh, on the what you wear on your head, it has on one side, the shein has 3 strokes, and the other side it has 4 strokes, to representing the 7 planets.
Wow.
And when we wrap the tefillin, we wrap 7 times, representing the 7 planets.
Wow.
And he brings example after example. Yom Kippur in davening, if you remember, we say, when the Kohen in the Beis HaMikdash says, Achas v'achas, achas v'shtayim, 1 and 1, 1 and 2. So he's saying 1 is Hashem and 1 is the other planet. It goes up to 7. 1 is Hashem, always showing that Hashem is ruling over the planet. That's what that thing we're saying on Yom Kippur. So example after example, deeply tied to the Torah, astrology, and it's not just this one person. That's fascinating. That was because he brought it out, the Bnei Yisachar. But there's so many sources.
You have 156 sources, which I was like, pages and pages and pages of this. What do you say with he says is that Yisrael is above the stars?
Okay, so I think it starts that there's just such confusion about astrology. There's so many mixed messages. I think that's the big key. Where we're told Ein Mazel Yisrael, there's no Mazel, or we're above L'malam Mazel, we're above it, so it doesn't apply to us, right? So that's one message. Then it also says Tamim Tia Hashem Lekecha, you should be wholehearted with Hashem your God, and many take that to mean you shouldn't do astrology.
Correct.
Right? So that's on one side. On the other side, we say Mazel Adar Dagim, that the month of Adar is Pisces. Right. And what do we say when somebody gets engaged, somebody gets married? Mazel Tov. For thousands of years, Mazel Tov means have a good astrological energy. That's very confusing. And many shuls we have a beautiful shul in Borough Park, the Young Israel Bethel. It's 4 stories tall, and on top of the Aron Kodesh, on top of the Ark, there's the 12 signs of the zodiac. What's going on here? If it's forbidden, why is it on top of the Ark? Right. Yeah, in the Svardish shul, there's a number. In the Lower East Side, the shul also has the 12 signs of the zodiac. So I'm getting very mixed messages here, right? Is it us
connected to the 12 tribes?
Right. It's very confusing. So the big key, in the first section of my book, I really tackle this part. What makes what's kosher and what's not kosher? It's like when people ask me, is astrology kosher? I like to ask back, are animals kosher? Well, it's not a yes or no answer, right? Okay. There are animals, chazer, pigs, shellfish is 100% not kosher, right? And the Torah speaks very strongly against it. Does that mean I can't have a steak? Does that mean I can't eat chicken? No, of course not. There's kosher animals. The same thing with astrology. So what happened back in the day, and people, that's what you have to understand, it was such a common thing that they used to worship planets. They used to treat them as false gods, and not only that, there's something called astral magic. They would do all kinds of spells and sorcery in order to honor the planet, which they looked at as a false god, and that then the planet would harm their enemies or do benefit for them. So it was worshiping planets, it was idol worship combined with sorcery.
Understood.
And that's what the Torah was so, all the negative things in the Torah is talking about the astral magic, the idol worshiping sorcery.
Specifically, the Rambam was against it.
Yes,
Right.
yes. And the Rambam, people don't understand, because Rambam uses very strong language against astrology.
Sure.
He specifies, I have a whole chapter in my book about the Rambam, he specifies that it's talking about those forbidden, the Rambam was fascinating. He told what the spells are, that you take blood and hear from animals he specified the spells that they used to do at those times.
Wow.
So the Rambam was talking about the forbidden version of astrology. And he's saying, that is nonsense. You do that, the planet is not going to do anything for you. That's nonsense. So it's really important to understand the difference between, so one is the idol worship. In fact, even this is in the time of Avraham Avinu, when they did this, and even going down time of the Talmud, it was called Oivdei Kachavim. It was called worshipper of planets.
Stars.
So that's what was the Isser. That was what the Torah is very against.
I see.
That's one version. There's also another version called astromancy. And this is what we were talking about before. They believed in a fatalistic version, that if you're born with a certain energy, they predicted a very specific thing. So, for example, the Gemara talks about the Chaldeans, who were a nation in the time of the Gemara who were famous for being astrologers. The Chaldean told Rabbi Akiva, the famous Rabbi Akiva, that his daughter is going to die on the day of her wedding. That's the way they practiced astrology. They gave a fatalistic prediction, and that, again, the Gemara talks about with Mars and all these things, that's not true. So those are the non-kosher versions of astrology. So anywhere you see in the Torah a negative source against astrology, it's talking about those two versions of astrology.
So basically, we can actually rise above our mazel by rising above our nature.
Absolutely. That we can channel. Always we can channel our energy in a positive way.
Right.
And then there's kosher astrology, which is a whole. So then my second part of the book, I go into what is kosher astrology. And this is what's so mind-blowing. I'll run through a couple of sources.
Sure.
It starts off, people ask me about astrology. In Bereshis, in Genesis, the 14th pasuk, the 14th verse says, "Vayomer Elokim," and God said, "Yehi ma'oros b'mekiyah shemayim." There should be luminaries in the firmament of heaven, lahavdil bein hayom v'halayla, to separate between day and night. V'haya la'osos, and it should be for signs. It doesn't get more explicit than that. Rashi there directly says, what does it mean it should be for signs? Astrological signs. That's why God created the sun and moon. One of the reasons for V'hailoisis. It's the 14th pasuk. It's right there saying, the Ralbag also brings down, it's talking about astrology. So right off the bat, we have that in astrology. Then the question is, why did Hashem create astrology? Why? So we have this as a famous Medrash Rabbah, which says, Amar Reb Simon. Reb Simon says, Ein lach kol esev ve'esev, there is no blade of grass, she'ein loy mazel berakia, that doesn't have an astrological energy in the heavens, shemaka oisev, that's hitting it, that's encouraging it, v'oimer loy gedoil, and telling it to grow. So this is such a powerful concept that Hashem created astrology to help every living creature grow, and particularly human beings. That's what it's here for. It's here to help us grow. Every time we have astrological energies in our lives, it's meant to help us, take us to the next level, to help us grow. That is its purpose. This is a clear thing in Judaism.
Isn't it also that even every single day has a specific hour connected to a specific astrological energy?
Yes, there's so much. It's so multifaceted. Yeah. Every hour is connected to astrology. Every day, everything has an energy. We're being bombarded constantly with energy, and individually with our birth chart, we can see the individual energy that we're here meant to really hone and grow and become an incredible human being through that energy. That is its purpose.
It's funny because even like Sunday, like the Christians pick Sunday because what is Christianity? The sun. It's good luck.
The sun.
The
Monday
Arabics,
is
right. The Arabs picked Friday,
right,
because of Venus, because of that situation, and we picked Saturday, which is between Saturn, but we elevated the Saturday.
Yes.
So it's wild how in every single day, like Monday, moon runs
right.
the Monday.
Yes, every day is named after, and actually,
a specific energy that's in that day.
Rabbi Bechia brings a fascinating piece, and I brought this in my book about that in Saturn. So back in the day, he quotes a book called Galinus, which is a non-Jewish book, and they said because Saturday is run by Saturn, you should wear completely black, and you shouldn't eat or drink, and you should refrain from family relations and all these things. And he says, us Jews, we do the opposite. We make special to eat, special finest foods, and we dress in our finest clothing, and it's a mitzvah to be family then.
Right.
Like, so all of these things we do special, the opposite of what they do, and they do, it causes depression, and what we do, it elevates and uplifts us. And in particular, he was talking about Saturn, and he acknowledged that that's the energy of Saturn, because that's the point, that every planet, there's no bad planet, there's a negative form of utilizing the planet and a positive form. And our job is to always work on the positive and bring out the positive of each planet.
And this is the reason why is to be spiritual and to be connected, because otherwise you're below the stars.
Then
you fall into nature.
Yes.
Well, you really don't have the chance to elevate the nature, which is the problem.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if you're meant to be angry, it's if you're an Aries sign and you're self-centered and you're all about you, that's what you get. What you get.
Right. So I mean, that's because our planet's energy. We're not here for fame and fortune. That's not. We're tasked with a mission. I think that's the big key to understand. Every human being is tasked with a mission, and if we just think that I'm in it for me to make money and be famous and be popular, whatever, that's it.
It's funny. The two of the greatest leaders were Aries, Lubavitcher Rebbe and Reb Nachman. So they took their fire and they did it to start up, to create that Aries energy. And Paro is also an Aries, so you could see how you could take that energy and either turn it up and become the greatest, or be the more self-centered.
Absolutely.
So just an example of how how much that energy is given to you, but what you do with it is depending on what your connection with God and your connection with your purposes.
Absolutely, yeah. And also, so we see here it says it in Bereshis, and right away it says that Hashem created for signs, and then in Bereshis Rabbah it talks about the purpose to help us grow, and then the next thing we have a fascinating Gemara. And this is in Bava Basra, where it says in the Torah of Hashem Barachas Avram Bakol, that Hashem blessed Avram with everything. Right. So the Gemara asks, Bleizer Madai Omer, my Bakol, what does it mean everything? What did Hashem bless him with? So Bleizer Madai Omer, it's Tagninis Hoise Belibo Shel Avram. It's Tagninis is astrology was in the heart of Avram Avinu, Shekol Malchai Mizrach and Marav Mashkim Lepiskai, that all the kings from the east and west would rush to his door to ask him astrological advice. Wow. How mind-blowing is it that the father of our nation, Avram Avinu, was a professional astrologer? And the Akedis Yitzchok, who's Yitzchok Aharon, he lived in the 1400s in Spain. He was one of the chief rabbis. He and Abarbanel, the two most famous rabbis in Spain in that century. He wrote in his Sefer Akedis Yitzchok that Avram Avinu used astrology to teach the world about Hashem. People came to him to study, and he would tell them the planets are not just random things. They all have purpose, they all have meaning, and they're all guided by God. That's how he taught the world about astrology. So right off the bat, people are going, it's not a Jewish thing? Well, excuse me, Avram Avinu, the father of Avinu, was a professional astrologer. Yeah. And in fact, there's another Gemara in Shabbos.
And every month has a specific energy that we're all connected to.
Yes, it's so blatant.
It's so blatant.
If somebody really... So the problem is it's a lack of knowledge, and because of the confusion. But if anybody really investigates a little further, you will see that Judaism is rife with astrology. It goes hand in hand. There's no conflict, and it's 100% kosher as long as you understand what it is and what its purpose is. So it's such a powerful thing. And then we had many great leaders who were professional astrologers. Many. Ibn Ezra was a professional astrologer. He wrote 14 books on astrology. It's wild. Rav Ram Chia, who's the great-grandson of the last Goen in Pompadisa, he was also a professional astrologer, and he got attacked for being an astrologer.
How come we don't have rabbis today as professional astrologers?
So actually, there's quite a number of rabbis, but they're keeping it on the down low because people think it's negative. So I'm hoping with my book that people are going to feel more proud to stand up.
Get people out of the closet.
Yes, that's what I'm really trying. When so first I was blown away by astrology, and then I knew there was sources in Judaism, but when I studied, I couldn't believe how every Rishon, Achron, it's thorough throughout. They all believe in this, that Hashem directs the world through astrology. And so there's no question about it. And so, and it's meant for us to grow. These are all our Jewish sources here. It's just,
And it's funny because the same word which is incredible. The same word Reb Nachman brings out, that the same word for spilling seed, motzi zel batala, is the same word for mazel.
Wow.
So it's like when a person's not in his masculine energy, he loses his luck. He loses his luck. He loses his potential. So it's like if you're not in your right energy, you fall under your luck. It's if you're not doing the right thing with your mission, and your luck sometimes runs out if you're not using it.
Right.
You know, I give you a company to take care of, a company to build. Next thing you know, you're partying every weekend and you can't get your mazel. So a lot of people think, I got bad luck. It's not bad luck. You're not doing the right thing with your luck.
100%.
That's like the big deal
100%.
of not being a victim. You know, because sometimes we're not doing the right thing with our lucks.
100%.
You know, you're walking as a receiver and you're like, hey, I get bad luck. You got bad luck because you created that reality.
Absolutely. If you're on the wrong path, you're going to get stuck. You're going to get blocked and God is trying to help you with that. That
Right.
stuckness is not a negative thing. He's trying to help. He's trying to say you're going in the wrong path. You're going in the wrong direction. If you make the right turn, incredible things happen.
It's funny. I heard from the Vilna Gaon, I heard that the person is a guardian angel, that even if the person is not on his mission, and he takes the U-turn, and you know the guy takes the batteries out of the GPS, and says, "I don't want to hear my mission." God will continue to try to create a midlife crisis or whatever happens in life just to get him on his mission. So our higher self never gives up. Our mazel never gives up on us. So this is why things have to get really ugly sometimes. So people wake up and they finally get on the right turns so they can hit their mission.
Yes.
Which it's incredible.
And sometimes it can be very painful, for sure.
It's always painful.
Yes.
It's always painful.
Right. There's no easy way around it. But the key is, but it's purposeful. All pain has purpose. It's not meaningless. It's not for nothing. There's something that's trying to direct you, trying to guide you in the right direction. You know, here's one more Gemara that we have in Shabbos that I absolutely love. That's so powerful. That talks about Amar B'Shimon ben Pazi, Amar B'Shimon Levi, Mishim Bar Kapara. So they said, Kol hayudaya lachshav b'tkivas mazalos. Whoever knows how to calculate the seasons and the constellations, the aina machshav, and doesn't calculate them. Listen to this language. Olav akasav Omer, on him the pasuk says, "There's poel Hashem lo yavitoi," and the work of God they do not regard, and masa yodav lo roi, and the actions of his hands they do not see. Like you're ignoring the essence, you're ignoring the miracles of Hashem. If you ignore astrology, that's a very strong language, very strong language, and it continues on. Omer b'Shmuel bar Nachmani, or Rabbi Yochanan. This is Shabbos 75a. This Gemara, it's fascinating. Minayin, how do we know shemitzvah ala adam, that it's a mitzvah on a person lachshav tekifas mazolos, to calculate the kifas mazolos? Sheneimar, because it says shmartem v'asisem, you should guard them and do them. Kihi chachmaschem, this is your wisdom, ibn esaichem, in your understanding, la'ainei wamim, to the eyes of the nation. What is this wisdom and understanding? That's calculating the seasons and the constellations. So, two things. The Gemara is saying, wait, if you don't do it, you're not recognizing the wonders of Hashem. You're not seeing Hashem's handiwork. Right. And secondly, that this is our wisdom. It's a mitzvah on a person because this is our wisdom. You know, now, there is the Rambam, who is talking about the non-kosher versions of astrology. He says that this is talking about astronomy. But Rashi there and everybody else says this is talking about astrology. Rashi says it's talking about astrology. Rabbi Avram Bar Chia says it's talking about astrology.
Because it's connected to your mission.
Yes.
That's the whole point of it.
Okay, this Yitzchok. And the Ran, final piece, the Ran has a piece explaining this.
Yeah.
And the Ran says, and you know how to calculate the seasons and calculations. Perish Rabbi Yonasan said, "Lefi shehi chachma mafire." It's a magnificent wisdom. They used very strong language. You'll pay attention. I'm going to quote later a couple of more people. Listen to how they talk about astrology. They say chachma gedola, great wisdom. In mafire, it's magnificent. Why? Why are they saying that? Because it's such a great wisdom, you recognize the greatness of its designer. By recognizing the greatness of astrology, you recognize the greatness of God. Because you have to understand, astrology works for 8 billion people, and every moment of time is calculated. There are the number of calculations to make it all work for everybody. So somebody who's an astrologer, your mind is blown that Hashem directs everything specifically for every person and has transiting energy going on, everything, and it fits beautifully for everybody's life. When you recognize that, your mind is blown. Really,
no, my mind was blown when you did that reading on me. I was just, how is this? It was like a custom-made suit, with everything, every detail needed for my, because I was, I'm a searcher, and I think this is it's so vital. So technically, we got to get this. We got to get this information out
for sure. I mean,
and I think it helps so many relationships, because so many times I ask you, what energy is what energy is your husband? The people don't even know. Like, you don't even know if the guy's water, fire, air. You don't even know where they're coming from. You don't even know how they're viewing the world. And even the 4 signs are connected. Each sign is connected to the one letter of God's name. So it's so out there that there's
so much information there. There's so much data about your life. Like, it's so helpful. Like, so this is something everybody should be learning astrology.
Where do you recommend that people start with this?
So I would say, this is my book, but I would say start with my book, because I really break it down, just understanding from the Torah perspective and also the basics of astrology.
You really covered it.
If you're the second part, I have 75 pages of full color illustrations that go through and explains astrology, the energy of each planet, sun, moon, Mercury, explaining the zodiac signs, explaining how they interact, so you can really get a picture. I have one chapter where I talk about the last 2 presidents, President Biden and President Trump, and I explain their energy, so you really can get a full picture.
You spoke about Trump's energy as Uranus. He has Uranus all over his chart.
Yes, so Uranus is the energy of independence, authenticity. Don't tell me what to do. So look, most
of us triple.
Yes. So most of us have, we have certain beliefs, but we're afraid to speak up, because what's our boss going to say? What's our spouse going to say? It's going to hurt our shidduchim, right? So we're afraid to really speak our truth.
Right.
Uranus energy is here to help you be authentic. No, I got to speak my truth. You got to be true to who you are. Yes, you might get some pushback and feedback, but so Donald Trump exemplifies that in the fact, forget politics of it, it's just that just from his personality, he has 3 connections to Uranus. His sun, his whole identity, his emotions, and his North Node, his purpose, are all connected to Uranus, which means he is designed to just be true to who he is, to what he believes, and you see it in his personality. It's blatant. If anybody want to test astrology, you look at his chart and just look at this key point. You see it. There's never been a president ever like this.
No, with this kind of mouth, no.
Right.
And he's a Gemini.
Right. So but it's that Uranus thing, but people respect authenticity. Now, it's going to create, divisions, because you're being true to who you are. You're not focusing. You're saying, this is who I am. This is what I... And that's his mission. Like it or don't like it. That's his mission to be.
And Biden himself had you said it had
Chiron. Yes, Chiron. So Chiron...
And he's a Scorpio.
Yes.
And he had a lot of
He has also triple Chiron. So Chiron is the wounded healer.
So it's funny, one had triple
of Uranus and one had triple Chiron. Isn't that wild?
Wow.
Isn't that wild? So let me just explain what Chiron is, so the people don't know. So Chiron is the wounded healer. That's the area in our lives where we have certain wounding, either in childhood or going through different tragic things.
I was born in 1977 when
Chiron was discovered. It's a planetoid. It's not a planet. It's a planetoid. It's between Saturn and Uranus, so it's very close to us.
Right.
And it represents the energy of, because we're working on healing ourselves, we're then able to heal others.
Wow.
And Biden, tragically, when he just became a senator at a very young age, at 29 years old, and his wife and 3 children were in a car accident. His wife died and his 3-year-old daughter died.
Wow.
And the 2 children were injured. And then he lost a child at 45 to cancer. And then the last child also all kinds of problems, political problems. So he went through a lot of difficulty and suffering, but people don't know this about them. Other people who lose people in their lives, they come to him for comfort. And people really, really look to him for comfort because he went through it, so that people feel that he really understands them and can say, just like you were able to get through it, I also can get through it. And that's the power of Chiron. And you see it so blatantly.
And he's a Scorpio too.
Yeah. So he has that
rooted
energy.
Also in that, wow.
Right, it's intensity and depth. So you can see in people's lives. Now, not everybody has such strong of one planet.
I have triple Scorpio, I think you put.
Yes, you have tremendous amounts of Scorpio. You have Uranus and Chiron. You have two presidents combined in one. You're Trump and Biden in one person. Like, I'm telling you, you're a powerhouse, really a powerhouse, you know? So it's just so powerful. There's so much information. And I'm trying to, once you, so it sounds fantastical. So that's why I tell people, look into it for yourself. Look into your own birth chart. Learn a little bit about it and see. And once you see that, there's so much information.
I wanted to do so much more stuff on astrology myself, but I was praying. I need the right sources. I need something, because I don't want to go too much into one angle and lose the basics. But now that you this book, now I'm gonna take off the seatbelt and start running with it.
Amazing.
Tell me, I've been reading a lot about the North Nodes, and we know in the months, for example, each month is directly opposite. For example, the opposite of Tammuz, July, and Tevet and Tammuz, right? Capricorn and Cancer, and they both have the same negative energy of Asaph. And yet they're all in the same thing. For example, the new year of Nisan and the new year of Tishrei, which they're both New Years. They're directly opposite.
Aries and Libra, yes.
Aries and Libra, they're directly opposite. So we could see even in our calendar, like all the holidays, really all the New Years are opposite each other. All the rough days are opposite each other. Tu B'Av and Tu B'Shvat, like everything's opposite each other. So there is got to be a concept between the North and South nodes.
Yes. So by the way, all of these energies, these oppositions, it's called in astrology.
Cold and hot.
Right, but we're here to learn both. Our shadow side, if you're an Aries, your shadow side might be Libra.
Yes,
and if you're a Cancer, your shadow side might be... So it's really important to understand both of these energies.
The baggage is in the South node, and the rectification is in the North node.
So with the North node is very powerful. That shows you your purpose in this world, your tafkid. In Hebrew, it's called the Tili. In the many svarim, it's brought down as the Tili. It's called
Tili.
Tili, yeah, Tili. Okay. It's like the dragon. It's called. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's brought down. Who is it? A Blazer Rokeach from Hebrew. He wrote a commentary, Sefer Yetzirah. He talks a lot about the Tili, and so it's a very powerful energy. If you have a planet connecting to it, you can see your purpose. If you have a Chiron connecting to your
Doesn't everybody have depending on the date you're born, we all have that a North Node in some kind of astrological sign.
So everybody has a North Node in a particular zodiac sign. Okay. So that's going to tell you a lot about what you need to do. In addition to that, if in your birth chart you also have a planet connected to it, so in addition to that zodiac sign, that planet is also going to inform.
So that just doubles it up.
Yes, that gives you more information,
and
it could be in a different area.
So these 7 planets go in these 12 houses. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So there's 12 houses in a birth chart. That's what it's called, 12 houses, and it lays out all the planets. So it's more than 7. There's the original 7 planets which go up to Saturn, and then today we have Uranus, Neptune, Chiron, and Pluto, which are all incredible.
How do these new planets get developed?
So that's so amazing. Again, mind blowing. Again,
Pluto's a new planet that got developed in the 30s.
1930, right? So I have
how in the world did that happen?
I have 2 chapters in my book, and I did tremendous amounts of research on this. It's mind blowing. So
that Pluto got added to Scorpio.
Yes. So Uranus was the first new planet to be discovered in 1781. And what do we say? Uranus is about independence, freedom. What happened in 1781? The United States was formed. It was, it was the end of the monarchy. It was about individual rights and freedom. That energy, God said, now's the time to bring it to the world. So when Uranus was discovered, and in the chapter, I show multiple things that happened at that time that changed the world forever. The Industrial Revolution happened then. That completely freed up man. Before we had to do everything singular, now we could multiply things.
The whole Hasidus
came then. It was also out of the box, being authentic, being true. So you have some. In 1783 was the first time that man took off from Earth. The first balloon flight happened in 1783. Because what's Uranus? Independence, freedom. I don't want to be locked down. So that was the first flight. So major things started when Uranus was discovered, and then it continued on, to where we are today.
So everybody has Uranus in their chart. It's just depending where.
Right. So everybody has Uranus in the chart. The question is it connecting to a personal planet? Is it connecting to your personality? Is it connecting to your actions? Is it connecting to your emotions? Is it connecting to your Mercury, which is communication and thinking. Each planet represents a different part of us. And each planet has a different zodiac sign. You're not just one zodiac sign.
But this is a very complex situation.
Yes, there's a lot of information. And so Uranus is, and I bring down that in the Torah, it says we have Avram Avinu in Parshas Lech Lecha. It says Hashem told Avram, Lech Lecha ma'aretzcha moladcha, leave your land, leave your home, and I will make you into a great nation. It's an individuation process. It's a time to be true to who you are. And Avram Avinu, he was completely counterculture. Everybody believed in idol worship, and he said, no, it's false. And he had a lot of pushback against that. But that was a Uranian energy. And that was just one. That's 1781. Then we have, in 1846, Neptune was discovered. And Neptune is all about elevation, transcendence, oneness with humanity. We're all one. We're all connected. And what was happening in Neptune? That's when we discovered the telegraph. That's when the steamships, that's when there was the railroad mania happened in the 1840s. It was connecting humanity in a way that we were never connected. I talk about the telegraph. It's the great grandfather of the internet. Literally, that's how because that combines and connects humanity. So life changed forever in this. Each time a planet, the unique energy of that planet came into the world and forever changed the world. It's wild.
1930.
And then Pluto,
which is
Pluto's a
to
tough customer.
Yeah.
Pluto.
Great Depression, 1930.
Yes. Pluto's about death and rebirth, and it's a very intense. It can be the dark side. It's like having a dark night of the soul because it's about transformation. It's the caterpillar shifting into the butterfly. But if you tell a caterpillar that it can fly, the caterpillar says, "What are you talking about? I need 28 legs just to walk. I can't fly." It's a limited thinking, and when Pluto comes into our lives, it transforms us, and caterpillar goes through a chrysalis. It liquefies the body until it turns into a butterfly, and it can fly. So
why did that get added to Scorpio, though?
What?
Did that get added to Scorpio?
Yes, because Scorpio is also a very intense energy. Scorpio has that Plutonian energy in it. And in 1930, we see all kinds of things happen. That's when they discovered nuclear weapons. That's everything that has to do with depth and intensity and death and rebirth. The Great Depression, it changed America forever. It was a terrible suffering, but then we set up all these laws, and we've been one of the greatest economies ever from that. The same thing that happened, in 1932, that's when Hitler came to power, and that's when in Japan, the fascists came to power. That led to World War II, which was one of the darkest times in our history. More people died. It's horrible. What happened to the Jewish people? Horrible, right? It's a death. It was a terrible dark night of the soul. But the beauty, what came out from that, and again, nothing can take away that pain, that suffering. But what came out of that? The state of Israel was born from that. So there was a death and a rebirth. And I talk about it in my book, how Yaakov Avinu went through this. So what happened? He was running away from Esav, his brother, who was trying to kill him. And the Torah says that he split his family into 3 groups. Why? Just in case, if he kills 1 or 2, somebody should survive. So this was a very dark, apocalyptic time for Yaakov. And the Torah talks about that one night during this time, he went out into the field at night, and he was wrestling with a man, which was brought down that was an angel. He was wrestling with an angel, and he was battling him all night. He had this dark night of soul. In fact, he was injured. He injured his leg. But at the end, Yaakov told him, "Give me a blessing." And what did this angel tell him? No longer will you be called Yaakov, you're now going to be called Yisrael. So there's a death and a rebirth. There's a transformation from going from an individual to the father of the Jewish people, to the father of Israel. And the thing is, what happened after that? He met Esav. There was no problem. There was no war. Once he went through this transformation, all of that intensity and all those and we all go through this kind of dark night of the soul at some point in our lives, which is why with astrology you can pinpoint when that's going to happen. It's not going to tell you what you're going to go through, what the specifics, but it will show you the specific time in your life when you're going to go through this dark night of the soul, because you're meant to transform into something beyond, which you don't believe at this time. So you need to go through this in order to believe that you can fly. And so it's all here to help us grow. It's so powerful.
So there's no reason to give up, technically in
life. Never.
You're going through a rough patch, and it doesn't mean you should ever give up.
It's purposeful. It's meaningful. There's always purpose behind it. And with astrology, you can see it. Like, you can see the planet connected to it of what it's trying to do. And it also tells you the duration. You can see the amount of time this energy is going to be in your life. So it can be so helpful.
It's great for couples sometimes to see that.
Oh, my gosh, for sure.
Just to give people hope and say, hey, it's a time, it's an energy.
Absolutely. Especially, I see this a lot with couples, when Uranus comes into their lives. So every 22 years, the energy of Uranus comes into a person, will hit your sun, will hit your moon, your identity or your emotions. And what happens at that time, we start not, like if we were getting along, we were doing what our spouse wanted from us, we were doing what people expected from us. When Uranus comes, I need to be, right, you're rebelling, you need to be true to yourself. And people, all of a sudden, your spouse and people around you are looking at, who are you? I don't recognize you. You're acting so out. And that causes so much shalom bias problems. It causes so many conflicts in marriages. And if people knew about it, so I did...
I think sometimes people will get diagnosed with something, you know?
Yeah.
So what do you? So how does a person get protected from this? Let's say.
So I would say information, understanding what's happening. So I did this for a young couple. They were 23, 24, a husband and wife. They came to me and I showed them that the husband, who, especially if it hits, if you have a conflicting area in your chart and Uranus hits it, wow, that's a time when this person. So he had his emotions and his actions conflicting in his chart. And what was he doing? So instead of doing what he wanted, he was very kind. He always did what everybody else wanted. And he was starting to feel frustrated about it. And when Uranus hit him, he went wild. So he started to, and when I explained to him before it happened, I was explaining that this is coming up and it's meant to, like, he might go a little bit wild, but then it'll balance out. It's only for 9 months and it's meant to help him balance this area. And the wife called me up a couple months later and she said, I'm having such a hard time with my husband, but because I know two things. One, I know it's limited amount of time. This is not, because you think a person changes. And two, I know it's meant to help him grow. So I can be more compassionate. I can give him more leeway. I can be more understanding of this process that he's going through. So having that information can save marriages. It's so powerful. So powerful.
Wow. I'm blown away. It's just, this stuff is just, it's so... Again, we're so quickly we don't understand the whole essence. That's why people don't understand the essence of the situation. They just judge it. They automatically judge it. It's the worst. I guess this is where you're saying a person who has dat has everything. A person who has consciousness has everything. A person who doesn't has nothing.
It's all about becoming conscious. That's all. This is meant to help you, like the Medrash Rabbah says, to help you become conscious, to help you become aware. Life is not just happening. There's nothing random. Everything is purposeful and meaningful.
Where can a person get his chart read? How do you still have appointments?
Yes. So I would first recommend people buy the book.
Buy
Kosher
the book.
Astrology. It's on Amazon. On Kosher Astro is my website, kosherastro.com. Really understand what's happening. So first step is buy the book, and then you can look on my website. I do chart readings, but really I want everybody to learn for themselves.
Because it's a different conversation when you know the plan. Like me and you had a great conversation because I'm like, okay, I get it. I know that I understand.
Right.
I was like, it was flow versus what's that?
Right. So it's really good to start having some basic knowledge and understanding what's happening, and that's in my book, in Kosher Astrology. That can be really helpful. Wow. But yes, there's just so much information.
I think you really need to take this to another level. I mean, I think people really, really need to be aware of this.
The reason why I've been
and you feel like people are in a box, like people are stuck, like and they won't even. You show them something. No, it's not for this. It's like. It's like today. It's so. That's why I guess that's my classes are so appealing to many. It's because it's get out of the box. Whatever you can get better.
100%. I have to tell you, I count this so much, especially when Saturn is connected to the moon, a person's emotions, Venus is your self-value. And Saturn is about restrictions and discipline. Now, it's meant to help you grow. It wants you to grow, but it's very tough. It's like a drill sergeant. A cadet in the army, what does the drill sergeant do? It calls it names. It tries to knock it down. Its goal is to try to build it. But Saturn sometimes is so tough on us, and we keep that voice in our head, and it knocks us down. So instead of building us up, it's knocking us down. And when I point it out to them, so first of all, people feel, so I'm not crazy. It's so validating to understand this is my process, especially a Saturn moon. It's so painful to see it, because that's a lot of times as a child, they did not feel emotionally supported. And it's a very painful process, but their purpose is to strengthen the emotions, to learn you can rely emotionally on yourself, because there's something in your life that you need to do that's going to require you to have that emotional strength. So it's setting you up for that. So
these planets are coming basically as a setup. The problem is the solution.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes. But
the problem comes as a solution.
Yes. But initially, because we're young and we don't understand what's happening, and they're so powerful, that's where we struggle, and that's where it can be painful and difficult. So once we understand what that energy is, we can hone it and really use it in a powerful, positive way. There's just so many gifts.
The tohu becomes the tikkun.
Yes. You know,
So basically, you need the chaos. You need the chaos energy in order to get into your rectification, because you would have never done this on your own.
Right.
Wow.
There's something that, look, I discovered astrology.
Incredible.
I had a Uranus transit every 22 years. That was at the time in my life. And I knew nothing about astrology. I didn't know I was having that transit. And that's when I discovered Uranus. That's when I discovered astrology. It came into my life. You know, and it's just so powerful. And people have so many gifts. Like that, honestly, my favorite thing when I do charts and I see a bunch of planets, if they have Neptune connected to Venus, that's incredible creativity. And I ask them, what are you doing? Have you already done it already? Are you doing it already? And they know they have their gifts, but they, again, knock themselves. Do something. It's such a gift. Life is so precious. God gave you this gift. Utilize it. Hone it. Do it. It's inspired. It's inspiration. Neptune is elevation. It's so powerful.
Wow.
Or I did a chart reading for a woman, and she had, what did she had? She had Mercury, Jupiter, Uranus. So Mercury is communication and thinking. Jupiter supercharges everything.
But doesn't everybody have Mercury, Jupiter, and Uranus? But
So
you're
no,
saying
no,
in the
no.
same
So
time.
no, everybody has it in their chart, but not everybody has it connected to Mercury.
together.
Yes,
I see.
It's the together that influences. That means the energy of Jupiter and Uranus is directly hitting the communication. Right, so this young woman, she had in her communication, she had Jupiter, which is supercharged energy, tremendous amount, and Uranus is out of the box thinking. So it's quick, it's eureka kind. So I asked her, what do you do with communication that's supercharged? So she says she used to do slam poetry, where you get up on stage and you have to come up on the spot with poetic things, and you have somebody challenging you. And that's such a beautiful way of expressing Mercury, Jupiter, and Uranus. You know, and so it was something, she had recently become a Baal Tshuva and she didn't feel comfortable. So I said, fine, find a kosher way. You have to express this gift. If you feel it's not something that you want to do slam poetry, fine.
So
bring
true.
it out in some way. Write inspirational things. Do in a kosher way, but you can't ignore your gift. That is the key. It's a mission from Hashem. I see this a lot, that when I see people who have these gifts and they're ignoring it, we have
Constipation.
Yes.
Spiritual constipation.
Yeah, and here's the thing, you can't run away from it. Famously in Yom Kippur, we have the prophet Jonah, right?
Yeah.
So what Hashem tasked him with a mission to go to Nineveh, this town, and tell them to repent, right? And stop idol worship and do repent. And Jonah felt, for whatever his reasons, he tried to run away. He's like, no, I'm not going to do my mission. What did he do? He got on a boat and and what happened? All of a sudden the seas was incredibly turmoil, and the people on the boat, they threw him overboard and he got swallowed by the whale. And why? Because he tried to run away.
You asked for the Wi-Fi password in the whale.
Yes. You can't run away from your mission. You can't run away from your mission. And your mission is clear. It's there. We have gifts.
How much is today's substance abuse? So many things. People have these breakthrough moments, and that's it. I need to get high. I need to go drink. The substance abuse is really killing the mission.
Absolutely.
Like you're getting an opportunity for like a major breakthrough, and all of a sudden you want to chill out, and you want to get high. So that's what I'm saying. That's so much of what's happening today. Because we don't understand. We think, okay, something's wrong. Okay, I got to rationalize. It's got to be my wife's fault. It's got to be this person. And it's got to be something. We don't understand. We find a way to just I got diagnosed with this. I got diagnosed. That's why the importance of if I could tell you, I've spent over more than 20,000 hours of prayer. Meditation, talking to God. So I get crazy insights. Oh boy, what's my mission? What do I got to do with this? But people, we're becoming, I think, the fans in the game instead of becoming the players in the game.
100%. 100%. That's the biggest message I can send. You're tasked with it. You have gifts. I'll give you an example. And it's not just your birth chart. There are special times in your life that's so important. When Neptune is about elevation and transcendence and connecting with the collective. So Martin Luther King, there's once in a lifetime when you have a sun Neptune. It's once in a lifetime energy. When he gave his I Have a Dream speech, he was sun Neptune, his elevation and idealism connecting with the collective. What did he say? Such an idealistic speech that I had a dream that one day my children won't be judged by the color of their skin, but rather by the content of their character. And it resonated. It's one of the most famous speeches in history, in United States history. And he had Sun Neptune exactly at that time. There are times when we have to hone our skills and our gifts, and there will be a certain time in our lives when we're meant to really bring it out to the world. It's such a powerful energy. And you can know when that time is.
It's also
wild.
important. It's also important to encourage others, not to criticize them, not to judge. It's so important because you don't know what's going on. That's why I guess that's why you can't judge somebody until you reach this place.
Yes.
Now we're gonna add to it until you reach this time. Also.
Yes. Yeah. No. I'm telling you, since I've been doing astrology, I absolutely, you can't. I sometimes look at a chart and I see some of the tough stuff that a person has to overcome. You cannot judge a person you don't understand. People who have a temper.
Wow.
They might have, a Mars and Aries and fire with Jupiter, and you can't understand that. Why? Oh, why isn't he calm? Because he has this incredible push and drive. And sometimes it kills me what they do to kids. Some kids are not meant to be just sit still in one place in school, and so many kids suffer because they're considered wrong and bad or ADHD. No, they have Uranus, Jupiter. They're meant to expand their energy.
Wow.
Don't confine them. The Vilna Gaon says, in Mishle it says, Chanach lanar al pi darka, raise your child according to his way. The Vilna Gaon specifies, raise him according to his astrological chart. I nearly fell out of my chair when I saw that. The Vilna Gaon is saying that. He's one of our greatest leaders in the last 250 years, and he's saying that raise him. Why? And he has a whole piece on it, and he says, why? Because what are you doing? If you try to train him someplace else, he's never going to stick with it. That's not who he is. Know his nature and train that nature in a positive way. So we have a kid who has, if a parent is water, is calm and wants things quiet, and you have a child that's triple fire, Sagittarius, and Aries and Leo, you can't, don't teach a child that he's wrong for being loud. You can train him to be respectful and things like that, but appreciate who his nature is, who God made him to be. Don't knock him. He needs that ability when he grows up. That fiery energy is going to be changing the world. Don't knock that energy from him.
That's the number one issue people have is people just don't understand me. I think that's one of the things that people feel with other people. I don't feel understood. I feel like I'm not appreciated. I feel like I'm not understood, and I think it's so we want to put you want to put everybody into a square. We want to put everybody into a box. He's not a good student at yeshiva. Maybe he's supposed to be somebody else.
It does so much damage.
They're getting thrown out of yeshiva. They're getting judged.
Anybody who's not, look, for a portion of people it works great, but for people who have very unique stuff in their chart, it's not designed. It's designed for them to be differently, and they need different schooling. And it's in their chart. They're not doing anything wrong. The notion of blaming somebody for how Hashem created them, again, we always have to take responsibility for our lives. But we're meant to be who we're meant to be. Yeah. So it's such a powerful thing.
Powerful.
Yeah, like it's.
Is there like any website you could recommend for just to pull up a chart, to read a chart, or it's something you have to? But first, you really got to get educated.
You got to start with the book.
You got to start with the book, honestly, because
there's so much information out there, and that's the thing. So I had to wade through a lot. So I like I said, I have 400 books on astrology. Many of them are filled with.
You took out.
I had to take the nuggets, the key thing from each one. You have to understand it in order to know what to take out. So there are good books out there, but you have to really first start with kosher astrology to know what's kosher, to know what to avoid, to know what to stay away from, and then you can explore more broadly.
I feel like you need to go to the Jewish world and discuss these things in yeshivot and all that. I just feel something's not working.
Right.
Something is just not working. I don't know what it is. It's just not working. No. And we're losing customers. You understand?
100%.
It's always when you have merchandise and you're losing customers. It's not like you're winning. If you're winning, do what you want. Continue to win. But in some areas you're not winning. Areas you got to change.
No, 100%. Like this,
wow.
That's like, so there's just so many, and
we could be here for hours speaking about this, but I think we got the point. The point is that this has to be part of your life, and it's very part of my life, by the way. I don't do anything without knowing who I'm dealing with, what the energy. Obviously, I know sun sign, moon sign, north node. I have to study more into the planets, connecting with each other, and the times. But it definitely is going to make you more. I think this will make you more a spiritual person. I think it'll make you more of an understanding person. I think it'll make you more of less judgmental, and also realizing that every hour, there's a time for everything, and not because this hour is not shining for you right now. Right. It doesn't mean it's not going to shine for you into a year.
Right.
Don't start come up with I don't have any luck. My life is like this. But I'll tell you one thing that's going to destroy you is if you numb the experience. That will destroy you. Because then you'll never get the out. Then the wake up call will come, and you're out to lunch.
100%. You know, the timing is not our timing; it's God's timing. You know,
you're gonna get the phone call, and your battery's gonna be dead.
He has a plan. You know, it took me 5 years to write my book. I thought I'll be done in 1 year. There's a purpose for it. Everything has a purpose.
Wow,
It needed to come out at the right time. I also had once in a lifetime son Saturn, and Saturn is hard work, and also it builds your authority. Literally to the day my books arrived, 2,000 books arrived in New York, literally to the day when I had my once-in-a-lifetime son Saturn. You know, and that, like, it's so wild. There's so many connections. And not just that. Like, you know, I have a haskama from Reb David Cohn. He's a 90-year-old posek. And I looked
haskama is an approval for those who don't understand.
Of the book.
Yeah.
And
you took this to big rabbis?
What?
Did you take this?
So I didn't want to go to too much. I wanted to find the
they would find the problem with it.
Yeah, he's the top posek. He's an amazing human being, an incredible rabbi. And I went to him, and he wrote that it's Gilu. By reading the book, it reveals the heavenly glory. He wrote beautifully.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I looked at his chart afterwards, and my North Node, his Saturn is connecting to my North Node. His authority is connecting to my purpose in this world, and he's the one who gave the approbation on my book. How wild is that?
After we've had that conversation, I've seen maybe 7, 8 things like just pop up that I would never seen before. Because of the information that I got, all of a sudden I'm seeing it now in things.
It's eye-opening.
Yeah, I'm seeing
really
it in
eye-opening.
things. Wow.
It's really mind-blowing.
That's why everybody has its time. Don't give up. And don't also expect, sometimes the sun's shining, sometimes the sun's not going to shine. But this is just a cycle of life and how to handle the ups and downs in life. But the end goal is to always optimize the mission and optimize the purpose, etc. It was such a pleasure having you. And I think this is going to be the beginning of a lot we're going to do together. And I'm going to make it my personal job to get your teachings out, because I feel like this is an area that is completely dry in the spiritual Judaism, etc. And I think you could do a lot of stuff for the world. And I really thank you for taking the time to making this book. Thank you for helping me out personal. And it's nice to finally receive, to be able to go to do this without any breaks. Absolutely. Amazing. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.